he involved with?
So he was on the lower west terrace. He was on the west side, and he was in the area where when the police fired the first boom into the crowd.
Right.
He was in that area, and what they ended up basically getting my husband for was yelling at a cop to quit spraying people with gas.
Wow.
With pepper spray.
Did he ever go in the building?
No, never went to the building. Didn't even try. That's not why he went there. He actually went there. So he went there with a friend of his from Missouri, and when they first went there, Ben called me and he was like, "You gotta hear this." He's like, "There's people singing praise and worship music everywhere." He's like, "There's people just." He's like, "It's the most awesome feeling everywhere. Just a big Trump rally, basically. You know, it's just a bunch of patriots." And so he called me and put it on speakerphone so I could hear what was going on. And then the cell phone service went dead. Like, he couldn't get a call out for anything. And that his friend that he went with, I won't mention his name because I don't want him on the radar anywhere, because he didn't do anything either. He didn't even go up where Ben was. But he had sent me a picture of Ben. Ben didn't know he sent it, but Ben was praying at the National Monument. And I have this picture, and it's just a beautiful picture because it depicts my husband's love for this country. And he fought for this country honorably. He's disabled because of it. He's 100% broken toe, disabled combat vet. And the treatment that they have given my husband since he has been in D.C. in the gulag, my husband compared it to Sears School. And he said it's some of the most horrific conditions. And he was, when he first got to D.C., he was in lockdown 23 hours a day for 21 days. The building that he was in was the CDF. He was only supposed to be there for maybe 72 hours because there is a January 6th pod in the CTF, which is actually through a hallway into another part of the building. And they were supposed to move him there after 72 hours. Instead, they held him in the CDF in 23-hour-a-day lockdown. And on the weekends, 24-hour-a-day lockdown. So it's a 72-hour lockdown from 9 p.m. on Friday evening until 9 p.m. on Monday evening for the 3 weeks that he was in there. And sorry, my hair's in my mouth. But he didn't get any medical care. My husband's 100% disabled. Mainly for PTSD, and it's just intentional torture on them.
Yeah.
Absolutely intentional torture. And it took me and a number of other people writing emails. I emailed the mayor of DC, who is in charge of the DC CDF. I emailed the DOC, I emailed the wardens, and like 10 other people. And I actually got a response from them. They had my husband, after I emailed them on a Saturday night at like 10 o'clock, they went and got Ben at about midnight that night, took him to the infirmary and checked on him and went through and made sure he was okay, gave him new clothes. And this was after he had been in there for like 19 days though. They hadn't given him any medical care. They were denying him a Bible because the gulag is completely Muslim. Everybody that runs it is Muslim. There is a Quran available and there are Mormon Bibles available, but there are no holy Bibles available. Like if you're a Christian, you're just
another way to try to take over Christianity.
We hear these stories every night from college-age Sixers on the Freedom Corner. They call out, and every one of them has the same stories of how the horrific treatment.
And it's just absolutely horrific. Just a complete throwaway of any rights that they have. Like they're treated like hostages. They're not prisoners. Prisoners have rights. They're hostages. They have no rights when they're in the gulag. And he's in the CTF now. It is a lot better. He does get out for a few hours a day in the pod, but they still haven't seen sunlight. He hasn't seen sunlight in a month. And the food is horrible. He has a lot of health issues that we control at the house with his diet, and those aren't able to be attended to. He's requested to see the American Disabilities Advocate person in the jail, and he's been in the CTF for going on 2 weeks now, and nobody's still come to see him on that. And Central Treatment Facility. Yeah.
And how long was the sentence?
He hasn't been sentenced yet. He's actually being held pre-sentence.
And they took him in 21?
No, so he'd been out. So here's the here's another funny part. Not funny, a ridiculous part of the whole thing. So he was arrested initially August 19th of 2021 and released on August 20th of 2021 on his own recognizance by a federal judge here at the courthouse in Tulsa. And she was wonderful. She was a wonderful lady. The prosecution, of course, the government tried to present an argument to detain him, saying he was some kind of threat and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, the judge was like, look, here in Oklahoma, she said, you don't have enough foundation to keep him for anything. You haven't given me a good enough argument. Like, he's not got a criminal record. He's an honorable, like, he had an honorable service record. He doesn't have a criminal record, has nothing on his record whatsoever. And you haven't provided me a good enough argument to keep him, so I'm going to release him. So he was on his own recognizance until May 13th of this year. And on
Until May 13th of this year?
This year.
So he was home with you until May?
Yes. Home with us until May.
Well, do you have an ankle monitor?
No, he was completely on his own
So the
recognizance.
polyps had
For the
ankle
first 18 months of his pretrial release, he had to report online and do a monthly report, which he did every month. It wasn't an issue. But after 18 months, they kick you out of that because it's part of the Speedy Trial Act or something like that. I'm not really, don't quote me on that. But anyway, they kicked him out of the program that he was on because after 18 months, they can't keep you on it. And so he was just out on his own free will, you know. And he'd been in Bible school and Bible college. He's a ministry student with Harris Bible College. And in March of last year, something happened with his ex-wife that she caused. And she got a bogus protective order against my husband over a phone call that she took the phone from. So we had bought a phone for my stepson so that he could talk to my kids, so that he could talk to his dad without my husband having to talk to his ex-wife at all, you know, because she's a witness against him in his January 6th case.
Oh.
She actually was the first person to turn him in.
Wow. That's bad.
Yeah, she's a pill. But anyway, so in March of last year, she took the phone. It was on March 3rd. She took the phone that we had bought and paid for Ben's son, and he was on the phone with him. She took the phone from his son and started just yelling at Ben and just belittling him and berating him and trying to trigger his PTSD. And she has a master's in psychology.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so trying to trigger his PTSD, and she didn't trigger his PTSD. He told her that whenever all this was over, that whatever involvement she had and the fact that she had taken his son from him for this long, because at that point we haven't seen his son since May 20th of 2021. And there's a whole nother story behind that to do with Comanche County, Oklahoma, and a crooked judge. But
There you
anyway,
go.
this is deep. But in March of 2023, on March 3rd, this woman took the phone from my husband's son and started berating my husband. My husband said, I'm going to come after you in court when all this is over. You better have a good attorney. Well, she went and filed a protective order saying that he had threatened her, that he was going to come after her. Well, I recorded the whole conversation. I have the whole 15-minute recording, and I told her I was recording. I said, you are being stupid. Hang up the phone or give it back to his son. You know, it's like, this is ridiculous. And Ben kept trying to get her just to get the phone back to his son. She wouldn't. And I told him, I was like, hang up the phone. She's just trying something here. She's trying
Yeah.
to get you to do something. Hang up. And, well, he wanted to talk to his son, so he didn't hang up. Well, eventually they ended up hanging up. But she let her son talk to Ben the next day. And then on the 6th of March, I personally sent her a text message, which was the practice because Ben didn't want to be in contact with her at all. So from my phone, because Ben didn't have a phone, doesn't have a phone, and I sent her a text message and asked if his son was able to talk, and she never replied. And I'm like, what's going on? And this was like 7:45 in the evening. And so I go to looking because I don't trust this woman because of things she's done in the past. And I get on ODCR, and she filed a protective order that day against my husband. And she had used snippets of the conversation. They didn't make her provide the evidence, didn't make her provide a recording. She had written down that he had said he was going to come after her and yada, yada, yada.
She must be a Democrat.
She's a flaming
Snippets.
Democrat. She's voted for Biden and Harris in the 2020 election. And if you look at her Twitter feed, it's absolutely horrifically disgusting. So I'm just going to say that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so not only have we been battling the government, but we've been battling her. And she's just intentionally inflicted duress on Ben by taking his son from him. So a judge in Comanche County initially to get a warrant for Ben, because in 2021 all they had was misdemeanors on Ben. They didn't have anything else. And in order to get the warrant to arrest him, this woman went to a judge in Comanche County, the same one that ruled on my husband and her divorce previously, and raked him over the coals. She granted an ex parte stating that my husband's radical ideology would cause irreparable harm to his son if he was allowed to have any contact with him. But she let him maintain phone contact. She just didn't want him physically around him, right?
And she got this protective order just based on a phone call?
Yes. And he was never served on it, never violated it, nothing.
And there was nothing threatening in that phone call?
No, not anything whatsoever. I literally have...
You mean by ex parte that she had a private conversation with a judge and told the judge this without his lawyer present or her lawyer present?
Yes.
It's like an
That's
emergency.
wrong.
It's like an emergency
Yes,
presence with the
emergency
judge.
ex parte.
We talk right now.
And so that in 2021 she got that, and then in March of 2023 she got this protective order over this phone call of him saying he was going to come after her, but he said he was going to come after her in court.
2 years later?
2 years later. And so that cut off contact with his son completely. So we haven't spoken to his minor son since March of last year.
And that's harming the child, too.
And yes, and this woman is a child counselor.
She's doing that to her.
She knows full well what she's doing.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you know what they say about counselors. Everyone needs one.
Yes.
So.
And so here's the kicker. So on March 9th of 2023, she goes and files that Ben had violated the protective order that she had filed on March 6th, that he was never served on, never got due process on, no nothing. Says he violated it on the 6th, which was my text message sent to her to ask if their son was available to talk. Well, they issued a warrant for Ben. And so fast forward, we hired an attorney to try to take care of it. The guy basically stole $3,000 from us and did absolutely nothing. The protective order stayed in place. And so we get to May of this year, and I'm actually in court on a protective order against my former father-in-law, the biological grandfather of these 3 children here, because he had taken me to court to try to get grandparents visitation with my children. My first husband had passed away in May of 2019 in a car wreck. And whenever I'm in court on this protective order, well, the judge denied his petition for grandparents visitation and said it would be actually detrimental to your children. But guess what? We had to go through due process. We had to follow we spent 6 months dealing with that process. And finally, the judge denied him any visitation. And so then, my children and I are Native American. Well, on the day that I'm supposed to go to court, April 23rd of this year, on the grandparents' visitation, the final day of court, I find out that my former father-in-law has put a threat against my life and was threatening to shoot me in the head and then to kill himself.
Did you get a protective order?
I did get a protective
Good
order.
for you.
I went to the tribe, actually, the Wyandotte tribe, down by my house because I live on the Wyandotte reservation, and my tribe also follows McGirt, and so does the Wyandotte tribe, and so they let you go to since I live on a reservation, they let me go to that court. And so I filed for a protective order, I get a protective order, he gets served with it on that day. Well, the next court date was supposed to have been May 8th, and so I go to court down at the Wyandotte tribe on May 8th, and to go get the protective order made permanent against my former father-in-law, and 3 FBI agents show up there and say, we need to talk to you about your husband. And I was like, for what? Like, he's been on his own, like, he's been arraigned on all of his charges. We're waiting on a trial date. You know, what's going on? Like, well, he has a warrant. It's like, for what? Like, he's taking care of everything. He's waiting on a trial date. He's on his own recognizance. What is going on? Well, they never provided me proof of a warrant or anything, but they threatened me with harboring a fugitive if I didn't take him to Tulsa, to the federal courthouse by such and such date. And I was like, look, we need time to talk to his attorney because this is ridiculous. We have no idea what's going on here. Why, you know, what is this about? And it was as clear as mud, like everything is with them. You know, they make it up on the spot. So they said, well, we need him in Tulsa by Friday morning. And this was on a Wednesday. And I said, there's absolutely no way that I can have him there. And I said, and it was the weekend before Mother's Day. So my first husband passed away 5 years ago on May 12, 2019, on Mother's Day. Well, this year they were trying to take my husband again on Mother's Day weekend.
They
And it's like, what in the crap, you know? And so I did talk to an agent that was actually very nice, and he gave me until Monday to get Ben to the Tulsa, because I told him what was going on. I was like, look, you can't do this to my kids. No, not doing this. No. And so I take Ben to the Tulsa Federal Courthouse on the 13th of May, and it was just supposed to be to take care of whatever was going on. You know, he voluntarily went. We went there, and they immediately put him in chains, and then I haven't seen him since. He went in front of a judge. Well, here's the kicker. The reason that the judge actually detained him, the judge was very fair at the Tulsa. It was a man, I don't remember his name, but he was very fair here in Tulsa at the federal courthouse. He detained Ben because of that bogus protective order in Comanche County, and that there was a misdemeanor warrant outstanding for my husband's arrest for that.
Jeez.
No, the federal defender that was with us, he was absolutely wonderful. He was a good man, and tried to help, and even presented the argument that, look, this woman took the phone from him and started the argument. She did this, not him. Like, he didn't engage, he didn't do anything, and he didn't violate a protective order because he never had due process and was never served on it. You know, how can you violate it if you're never served on it? But that's the government too. You know, they do the same thing. So, so my husband he stayed in Tulsa County for a couple of days, and then ended up going to Cimarron, and then they took him to DC, and that's where he's been since. So.
And that's been of this year, of May of this year or so. Brandy, let me ask you a question. Because he served in the military, did they strip him of his military benefits?
No.
They haven't? Because I know they did some of them.
No, it's a possibility after he is sentenced. I'm really praying that they don't do that, because that's
good news today is Mark Shively had his disability benefit returned. He was in the gulag. His car accident and all stuff. We got him released, and he's recovering, and we're still in treatment, but he did get his disability. That might be his fault.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
So they're gonna sentence him based on what? I mean, what
So he,
violating protected order?
no, so after he got to DC, his attorney, that he's in Virginia, so they had offered Ben a plea last year, and he didn't take it because he didn't want to plead to a felony, because he's like, I didn't do anything that was worthy of a felony. Like, I didn't do anything anyway, but like, if you're gonna slap me with something, slap me with a misdemeanor and just get it over with. But that didn't happen. So they had 6 misdemeanor charges and 2 felony charges against him. And the misdemeanors were like the civil disorder and yada, 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 because the cops caused chaos.
Yeah, we know.
Can you share with him what you shared with me, what they said he had done with the pushing and yelling?
Yes, so they had said initially, like, they tried to get Ben for assault on a police officer and impeding police action and stuff like that
In Washington.
in Washington, D.C. for January 6th. And he was in the area where, when the flashbang went off, he was in that area. He was in that area. Well, my husband's a combat vet and has PTSD from combat, from being blown up from all kinds of crazy things, you know? And so he goes into automatic high alert mode and protective mode, right? That's what you do in that instance.
Yeah.
And there was cops there at that line behind the barrier, and he was on the other side of it. And they just start spraying the crowd with all this crap, whatever they're spraying, you know. And Ben yells at this cop to quit spraying people. He goes, we're not doing anything. We're just standing here. And you can see him on the video. We have the videos. We have all kinds of videos. And they won't let you present it.
Yeah.
And so Ben ended up taking a plea to the impeding police action for yelling at the cop, because his attorney's like, this is the best you're going to get. If you have to wait on trial, it's probably going to be the middle of next year.
That's crazy.
And for my husband, for the sake of his mental health, he was like, let's just get this over with and be done with it. And at least I know there's an end in sight, you know. And so he did take a plea to impeding police action. It was for yelling at the cop. But he was shoved from behind. You can see it in the video. He was shoved from behind into a cop, but then quartered away and got away. And that was what they tried to get him with assault on a police officer for, was bumping into the cop. But the cop didn't go after him. The cop stayed where he was. He knew Ben didn't do anything, you know. And so that charge, they didn't try to make him plead to that. Like, it got gone.
But even so with that,
But
I mean,
even
you have a
so,
mob like that, I mean, you're bound to knock into somebody. There's no way that you're gonna...
They were violating every rule of policy in their manual with the flashbangs, with the rubber bullets, with the mace, the different kinds of mace they use, with pepper spray and also tray, with gel spray and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Does he have a court date?
His sentencing date is September 20th. And so we're praying that the judge will have some compassion on that day based upon his medical needs and stuff like that, and the fact that he didn't have a criminal record prior to January 6th.
Is his attorney competent?
His attorney is actually a pretty good attorney.
From up where you live?
No, he's actually from Virginia.
Oh,
Good, he's that close too.
Yeah, he's actually gone and visited Ben a few times. And
Nice, that's
he's a
good.
very nice man.
very good.
And so I'm glad that Ben has him, because he's been very, very helpful through this process, and he tries to work with Ben's disabilities and stuff, and tries to get him the best that he possibly can based upon those.
So is Ben in the pod with the other J6ers?
In the CTF, yeah.
Okay.
So on this advocacy, the disabilities advocacy group, where you mentioned earlier, do they have contact info that we could do a call to action on, and I'll lay into them? All of it. You think it would help if a whole lot of people called them?
It might actually.
Can you name it? Tell it the chat the official name of that group.
I don't know the name of the group actually.
Hey Trina, it's
Okay.
Ben
Um,
Burlew.
but
Get
I
info
can get
to
it.
us, and Kim,
Yes.
will post that in the chat, and we can do a call to action to them and get them to stand up for them. I mean, we work hard for Bart Shively, and we got him out of there. So.
Yes, and so Wendy Olson is working on Ben's case with his medical stuff,
Right.
and so I believe she's going to draft a letter to present maybe at his sentencing or something
Right.
to the judge to try to get some compassion, maybe a compassionate release possibly.
Yeah.
So, but he's just the neglect that happens to these guys in there is
Yeah.
horrific. And I mean, he's 100% permanently and totally disabled, and he has all kinds of physical ailments as well as PTSD. You know, and his PTSD is the biggest factor, and just being able to have contact has helped. Phone contact, you know.
Yeah.
But I just want him home.
Do you know, is he getting a lot of mail from different people,
He
or
hasn't gotten anything yet.
he hasn't gotten anything? Well, he'll be
I
getting
think we all
something.
heard it.
He will be.
Send Ben some mail. Patriot Mail Project.
Yep.
All of that
He's on
information.
there. He was getting mail at the house, but he hasn't gotten anything in where he's at.
Have you sent him anything?
No, I haven't.
You haven't, so you don't know if it's getting through to him or not, because
No.
sometimes we don't know that the mail that we send is actually getting to them.
Right. And I did order him some stuff through the Access Pack on the internet the other day to send to him for commissary stuff.
Uh-huh.
And because he had ordered, so they'll only allow him, I guess, like $125 worth of stuff a week to be delivered to him. And so he had ordered stuff through his commissary there. Well, then the stuff that I ordered, they held back in the jail and won't give it to him until this week sometime because he had already gotten stuff. And it's like, how is that? Like, that stuff was food. Like, there was food in there for him, new clothes. And when he was in the CDF, he was having to wash his laundry in the shower with him because they wouldn't
Jeez.
allow him laundry service. It was like 90-some degrees in there, and my husband's had malaria and in combat. And it was like 90 degrees in the cell where he was. There was no airflow, no nothing, and so his body doesn't regulate temperature well anyway from having had malaria. He was packed on ice for 2 months when he was in service. And so it was literally like intentional torture.
It's torture. They torture
And
them.
Horrible.
Well, I've got a couple on here saying they have written to him, Kim being one of them.
yes, good.
So-
Good.
So you haven't been able to speak to him?
Yes, I can speak to him. Yeah. Now, and he does have a tablet, so he's able to call from his cell when the service is good enough as well. So that's helped tremendously. But when he was in the CDF, we had about maybe 30 minutes of possible talk time. That was it during the day.
What's the CDF?
The Central Detention Facility in DC.
How many
Hey,
people
Gator
are there
girl.
with him?
In the CDF, I don't know how many are in there. It's where all the actual criminals in DC are, though.
He's in general population, or
And no,
he's in there
so
with Brian Scooter Jackson.
he's in CTF with Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in a good place.
Yes,
That's
he's
the
in a
best
good
place
place
they can
now.
be right now.
Yes, it's fantastic
Scooter
compared to
takes
where he
good
was.
care of all the people.
Yeah,
that come
he's
out.
been fantastic with him. Like, made sure he had everything set up, and like they've been great in there.
Yeah.
But
He's gonna come up with some crazy recipes.
he was telling me about some burritos that some guy was making and had brought him by one, and he was like, it was like a gourmet burrito. He's like, you're gonna have to make these at home. I was like,
Yeah, we want a cookbook from the pod. So they come up.
hey, maybe that's a fundraiser.
I
they
think
could
I
do.
think I think they're doing that, aren't they?
Michael Oliveris, that man
Yes,
is a
he's the one that
genius.
made the burrito.
Oh yeah, he's a genius.
Wasn't Jeffrey Sable making a bunch of
Jeffrey
stuff
was a
too?
cook,
It was like,
Yeah. I mean, they're like our family. We hear them talk every night on the chats, and we
Yeah, Mike sometimes.
Jonathan Pollock is just an ultra spiritual, joyous guy.
Yes, Ben loves talking to him. Oliveris, he'll hop on occasionally and say hi whenever I'm on the phone with Ben.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, it's
Yeah.
Have you had, there were like 7 or 8 from Oklahoma, right, that were arrested? And none of those guys are in jail.
Have you talked to like Governor Schiff or
I have, so we've reached out to his office. We've reached out to Mullen.
Oh, don't waste your time.
So, to no avail on those. But Josh Brackeen, how do you pronounce his name?
Brasheen?
But anyway, his office did reach out to me the other day, and he is going to go visit Ben.
Nice.
He is actually going to go visit the CTF, and then he's also going to do some other stuff on his behalf. So
That's good.
we're trying to arrange the date for him to go visit him right now.
Yeah.
there's a show, it's Real American Boys.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday they have a show called Cowboy Life. They are huge advocates for help. They do a lot of stuff with it. I would recommend you give them a call because they are very proactive in the whole process.
They have workshops.
Has Kim, I'm sure Kim has given you all the different organizations and stuff, hasn't she, that are helping?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kim's been wonderful.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. Have you, are you going to be able to go down to DC for his sentencing?
Yes.
Good.
I'm planning on it anyway.
Good.
We were actually talking about that yesterday.
You can stay at the Eagles Nest, I'm sure. Mickey's awesome. I've been to the Eagles Nest. It's awesome. Great people. Nicole, Tammy. They know me. I played the harmonica on Freedom Corner.
Oh,
Mickey
how
held the
neat.
microphone.
Okay, you can keep talking. I'm going to go get the burgers going so Joe can do his thing.
Pray for your husband, with all of us agree with it.
Yes.
What is his husband's name?
Ben,
Okay, pray for him now.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's-
agree with me? Lord Jesus, I just thank you today for our freedom, that we're able to stand up for our country, Lord, and I just pray right now for favor for Benjamin, Lord. This is a really hard situation for his family, that he has to be separated, but God, you use all things for your glory. So I pray, Father, right now, as you have Benjamin meet and talk to the right people, that he will be led out at the right time, that only you, God, will get the glory. And I thank you, Father God, that he seeks you in everything, that he knows you, and he gets to know you better as he's in quiet time, Father. And I pray, Father, for his whole family, that anytime they feel lonely or separated, God, you comfort them, comfort their hearts, and give them strength. And God, you are awesome, and you have such an awesome power that your arm is not short, that it will reach to everybody who grabs it. So I thank you, Father God, right now that Benjamin's grabbing your hand, Lord. And I thank you, God, that all the January 6ers are going to be set free when Trump gets in the office. But right now, I'm praying for justice to be done to the evil people that have done the evil to every single January 6er. And I pray right now for your will to be done. And I just pray for just a hedge of protection around us, that there is no weapon formed against us that will prosper. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
amen.
I raised a hallelujah. Benjamin and his family.
Takes care of you and your kiddos and your son that you don't want to see.
You got a big family.
We're finding that out. It has been quite lonely because our own family, so both of my parents are gone. They both passed away. My mom passed away when I was 16. My dad passed away in 2016. And then I've
Can
got
you
a lot
just
of
hold
cousins,
this on
but
her so I
they're
can go in and
all
get the,
scattered, you know, they're
yeah,
all
don't put your fingers over
a
the,
ways away.
yeah, just hold it, don't put your finger down there either so you can hear her.
Just
Okay,
completely
thank
went AWOL after January 6th. But some of them had some involvement in some turning ins of his we'd just rather not communicate with him anyway, you know. But we were in a church, and Ben was told that, so he spoke to a youth kid and just asked him a question one day, and the kid was a golfer, and but he was wanting to be a youth pastor, and Ben said, well, I'd say that if you want to do that you should probably put your golf club down and put your Bible up a little bit more, you know, like, didn't say
Yeah.
anything wrong, didn't say anything harsh. The kid that was actually asking a question like, how do I get closer? How do I get further into my ministry that I want to do? And he's like, well, just put your golf clubs on a little bit more and pick up the Bible some more, you know? Well, it offended the kid's parents apparently, and so they went to our pastor at the time, who's no longer our pastor. We still go to that church, but that guy's not the pastor there anymore. But anyway, he told Ben that he literally could not speak to anyone in that church until January 6th that was over. And so
Wow.
it sent Ben on a tailspin for a little
I
while
bet.
because it was just so devastating to him because he was like, what did I do? And what do you mean until this January 6th stuff is over? Like, does it make me not a follower of Christ? Like, can I not speak about him? I'm in Bible school, for goodness sakes. Like, he's been in Karis Bible College online.
Time to
And-
shake the dust.
And yes. And so, after a course of events and trying a few different churches, because after that, I was on the praise and worship team at that church at the time. And absolutely, that's just where I function. And I stepped down and I said, if you're not going to let my husband speak, I'm not going to sing another note in this church. Like, I'm done, you know? And so we ended up leaving that church for a while. And then we came back right as they got a new pastor. And the new pastor is absolutely just amazing, and they're so supportive, and they pray with Ben on the phone, and
That's great.
and they're like, we are going to walk through this with you, and we're not going to leave you to the Lord. We're not.
Amen.
We have a family.
Amen.
We have a church family that cares about you now. And so them coming alongside us, and then just the outpouring here in the last few months has just been amazing. And so we're blessed. Very blessed.
I hope, man, the blessings will continue. There's more and more people hear your story. And like troopers, there's 200 of us in this chat every night, and we've been there the whole 680 nights. And I mean, we come together for our. Diane Kelly, she writes 20 letters a week to people. Other people write letters. Some people don't say what they do behind the scenes. Call to action. One of the call to actions is back in the winter. It's 4 degrees. It's 15 degrees inside the gulag. The guards are running around in coats, gloves, they're there and they want to kill some freak. So the call to action went out and went through text messages, bing bing, my phone's lighting up. And we called this phone number of the gulag and talked to somebody. And I said, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein had 20 blankets in his cell. I said, at least give them one apiece. You know, I said, there's no sense in this. Your guards are running. I laid into them pretty good. I don't cuss, I don't threaten, I just tell them the fact. And later on that night, I think it was John Zola called out to the said, hey, we just got blankets a while ago and they're turning the heat on. Like, our call to action, and then our call to actions is why they have cabinets. Our call to actions is why they get to go outside for wet every now and then. I mean, and the more people we can get calling those numbers and calling our congressmen and representatives and stuff that are positive that we become to as they sit there. I mean, and they did nothing wrong. We knew November, the morning after the election, it had been stolen. Trump was in a landslide at midnight and boom.
Go to bed.
And so then people started coming. I saw Melissa, somebody showed her again. She was in Michigan working for the union. And she was saying, hey, this is wrong, you can't do this. And then they blocked all the Republicans out, blocked the windows, and then the van come in with new footages out of the van, unloading the ballots. And so the J6ers, had been watching these hearings on TV. And Philip, my Philip guy, Mike Lindell, he had this Iverson poster. And it showed all of the every precinct in America is connected overseas. And they would flop switching the votes and changing the algorithm and stuff. And the mail-in ballots and the COVID, all of that led up. And the J6ers knew it was stolen. And what they do, they grab their flags and they go protest peacefully. Yes. And then the police brutality hit, and they and they riled up the crowd with the brutality, plus the feds all in there and stuff. So we knew at that moment, and I didn't go. I'm not a J6er, and I didn't go to it. I had a job, I couldn't leave. Anyway, but yeah, so it ain't like this just sort of popped up spur of the moment deal. This had been brewing for 2 months, and the evidence kept pouring out. It was stolen. And it's still coming out. And Nancy even admitted the other day that she screwed up by not having an active vote. She said she takes responsibility. We saw that. And she didn't know that footage would ever get out. It did. And then the CMJ6 committee, the new congressional committee exposing them how they were illegitimate, and they were chosen illegitimately and all that. What you know is all on the Cooper had put up Maureen's flyer for this on Twitter, Rumble, and the other X and all that stuff. He said over half a million people saw this flyer. Man, if you see my truck, it's got 3 J6 there. It's been on there 2 years.
One of these days, they will be free.
That's my question. Yeah, like, is the media not like making a big story out of this? They're pushed down. Nobody wants to hear it. We have a gulag in the United States of America on in our capital. A gulag. That's a gulag that they've named it. That's just mind blowing to me.
They made a movie on HBO back in the 80s about a gulag in Russia. This is brand new. Same tactic. We've got the basement banging on the bars, keeping people awake all hours of the day and night. Anyway, they can do that. I got to hang out with them and fellas. So Marjorie Taylor Greene and Byron Donald, they're coming. They tell the good, we're coming. And they had been begging for police to get rid of the black mold. And they didn't tell the inmates that Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, well, we decided we're going to give y'all some bleach to get rid of the black mold. And they cleaned all of that up. They wanted it gone. And the next thing you know, I don't see any black mold, Marjorie Taylor Greene. But they tricked them into cleaning up the gulag. Or what they do, they want that gulag sticky. They put them in a condemned part of the gulag. And they fixed it up so nice that they moved them to another part of the prison so they can clean that part up. Now they're putting the general population where they would be. So they're just using it to fix that jail and everything else. It gives them something to do.
So if we have an address, if you can get us an address, maybe we could write to Ben, or just anything that we can do to help.
I wouldn't give out yours. But for the gulag, you go to American Patriot Relief Project.
American Patriot Relief Project?
Yeah.
Okay. American Patriot Relief Project.
And you can write to the inmates. And Troopers Chat Kim every night posts a guy starts talking on the phone, she'll post all their information, their prison number, and gets and goes. On the corner they ask, do you have a gets and goes? So we check them with Troopers 2000 on Getter here, and it's 200 and on YouTube, and it's we all hear it, and people can respond to it and help them. what are your current needs right now? Anything that you really need or?
Currently, we're pretty good right now. It's just the unknown of the impending future.
Yeah.
And just making sure that he has plenty on his commissary and stuff like that, you know. And 'cause he's like, I don't want to be a burden on you guys because you've still got stuff to take care of at home. And now you've got additional
You ready to?
expense and putting it on commissary or on the phones to keep in contact.
Got it.
And he doesn't do well without contact. Like,
Do you want to end it?
his,
I'm going to,
his
yeah.
PTSD rating is what the majority of his disability
Yeah,
is for.
being able to communicate with
And-
loved one is really helpful.
Yes, and so that's an important thing, just making sure that he can stay in contact with us. So just making sure that there's stuff on that all the time is the biggest
Thank you, Trina.
thing in my mind. Is just making sure he's okay.
Is it American Patriot Release Project?
Organization org, I think.
There's Patriot Mail Project.
Patriot.
Yeah, Patriot Mail Project, and his information is on there. And it's Benjamin Berlin. Is who-
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he went into lockdown, and I think Scooter's the one that told the Chad, hey, we got a guy that's been in there in solitary confinement going on 25 days. We need a call to action.
Yep.
I mean, that Chat family, they'll light up them phones, and Tina, she gets after them.
Yes.
And her daughter Sky, they'll call them. They get mad.
Okay, guys. We've got hamburgers and hot dogs going on here, so I'm going to need to end this stream.
Now, do you know all the live streamers on Freedom Point?
I don't, I know a few of
You
them.
Yeah.
come in our chat one night, I think.
Are they
The
ready?
night that Ben hopped on there,
Yeah.
yeah, the night that he got, I was actually,
Yeah, we saw you.
Anybody that wants a hot dog, they're ready.
my kids.
So just go on over there, get a hot dog. Everything else is inside on the porch.
Ben's in the pod. I was like, what? And so that was a very joyous moment.
Oh, yeah.
because I had literally on that Saturday night before, because that was on a Monday evening, on that Saturday night, I had fired off an email, and then Diane Paquette and Wendy Olson and Marie of January 6th.
Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off. It was good seeing you all. I hope you enjoyed it. I did the best I could, not having that much experience. See you later.
I threatened them with U.S. Marshals
Bye-bye.
storming them again because they had been raided by them. And